1997 was a significant year. It was a year that many of us realised that a game based around running a hospital wasn't as ludicrous as it sounded. In fact, it was actually damn good fun. And we had Bullfrog Productions to thank for expanding our minds and wasting countless hours of our days. Although its life began under DOS, it would also make its way to the PlayStation the following year. Theme Hospital was in fact such a good game that people still play it today, and indeed there's even an open source high resolution engine called Core6TH which allows owners of the original base game files to game in a much more socially acceptable resolution. So really there's no need for a sequel, or even games like Hospital Tycoon and Hysteria Hospital, which failed to recreate the same charm, amusement and addictiveness offered by a game written over 20 years ago. Personally, I'd just be happy listening to this music all day. But then, from the end of the hospital corridors, we began to hear whispers of a new game. A game called 2 Point Hospital. A game which aroused those theme hospital feelings all over again. Well, it turns out those whispers weren't Chinese in origin, even if the names we applied to that old children's whispering game were a bit dubious. Because here is 2 Point Hospital, a game my brain keeps telling me to call 2.4 Hospital, but has no connection whatsoever to the average number of children in a British household during the 90s. So, this video is here to scratch two itches. The first is to find out whether this new management sim is any good. The second is to draw comparisons with Bullfrog's Theme Hospital and then mull on what 20 years of programming and evolution has brought us. Now allow me to set your expectations here, because people like ex-Bullfrog developers Mark Webley and Gary Carr have worked on creating 2 Point Hospital, and given they both worked on Theme Park and Theme Hospital, expect some distinct similarities. No Peter Molyneux this time, I'm afraid though. I presume he's currently being held hostage in Larry's basement. Hello, you. We start with an introduction, which although nowhere near as dark as Theme Hospital, merges the same style of comedic wordplay and blatant disregard for patient life.
Building a brighter, safer future, and hardly anything will stand in our way. You deserve the best, so join us.
It's a formula we all know and love, and it continues the expensive yet crap healthcare satire of Theme Hospital. But instead of being thrown straight into a hospital, we're now presented with a map. I mean, to start with, we can only select one hospital, but I like where this is going. Now, from this point on, it really does feel like you're playing a modern Theme Hospital. I expected similarities, but I didn't expect it to be this similar. We've got the same isometric angle to start with, the same reception desk, the same room layout design, the same items in the room. In fact, I'm sure that's even the same tannoy announcer.
Lost and found report. Green sock. Medium to large hole. Terminal patients to the front of the queue.
Rebecca Green did the original announcements. I can't find her name in the 2 Point credits, but that sure as hell sounds familiar. Anyway, the point is, this feels so much like Theme Hospital that I barely had to think to play it. Everything is where I expect it to be, and everything moves how I expect it to move, from the placement of items to the rotation of the screen. Whoa, wait a minute. Theme Hospital was strictly an isometric game. This 3D malarkey is new and actually pretty nice. Although it felt wrong to move the game out of that original isometric perspective, because I started to lose my bearings. So what are we missing? Well, the original cartoon look of Theme Hospital has been replaced by more generic 3D representations. When I saw this style on the trailers, I had my reservations, but now, in the flesh, it looks good, and it feels fine. In fact, many of my concerns about this remake, especially the overall quality, floated away within the first half hour of playing. It's clear that 2 Point Hospital is a labour of love, and a true spiritual successor to one of my favourite 90s games. This meant that although there's a handy assistant throughout to help you improve and avoid pitfalls, I barely needed him, as anything from placing radiators to keep the place warm, to hiring the right staff, to building the right number of GP rooms was almost intuitive. What's more, the niggles from the original, like having to heat the whole damn building, even the empty parts, to keep people happy, are gone. I can now happily heat only the parts where people are passing through, and this works like it should.
Those unable to find the hospital will not be considered patients.
Along with the more familiar ailments, we've got new problems to deal with, requiring new machines, new rooms, new staff training, all sorts of new stuff.
The health inspector is coming. Please try to look healthy.
We've also got new statistics, graphs and tables, just like the original had, but much more detailed. You know, there's enough detail here to satisfy even the most die-hard analytics fan. Well, probably. But impressively, it doesn't overwhelm you. You don't really have to go into it as much as it looks like you do. You can just let it chug along. Alongside this are numerous challenges raised by both staff members in the hospital and external authorities. For example, you might be tasked with capturing 2 ghosts. For that you'll need a janitor with ghost catching skills, and you'll need some dead patients who have come back to haunt your corridors. Fulfill this and you will earn some Q-Dosh, which you can spend on new items for your hospital and its rooms, perhaps a beanbag, a coffee machine, or even a Sega arcade machine, running Sonic apparently. Some of these we saw in Theme Hospital, or something very similar, others are brand new, and it's a nice balance. Now this is all good, but what's really key is whether this combination of new and old keeps you engaged the same way the original did. Theme Hospital just used to suck days and days out of your life without you realising it. The formula was so balanced that it kept all the right areas of your mind busy and engaged. Thankfully, 2 Point Hospital seems to have just about pulled it off. There were times when I was waiting for machines to be researched or just for the hospital to play out, but it wasn't enough to make me bore quit. And just when you think there's nothing else to do, a new problem crops up or a new hospital is offered to you. And here's where the world map comes into use. In Theme Hospital, you were often offered new hospitals if you'd kept yours at a certain level. But this meant giving up your current hospital. All that hard work might have leveled you up, but now it was pulled away from you. Well, 2 Point Hospital doesn't do that. You get to keep your previous hospital and then move on to the next, creating an empire of hospitals. You're then free to go back to your previous hospitals at any time and level them up further. 3 stars seems to be the highest achievement for each site, but they'll keep on running after that. Your ultimate aim is therefore to build on every hospital site, from the rural outbacks to city locations, with each site offering different challenges and diseases. For example, the university hospital starts you off with only student medical staff. From there you have to build your medical centre as normal, whilst providing training to ensure everything runs effectively. Other outback locations may give you an increased rate of fracture cases, I presume because people fell trees directly onto their legs in the outback. And then as you move to the city, pharmaceuticals become a bigger role. These new challenges keep you engaged and give you a reason to progress. So, what's my end verdict? Well, it actually feels like how I would expect a modern day theme hospital to feel. It plays like I would expect it and throws a few surprises in there too, such as the ability to move entire rooms rather than deleting and starting again. I'll tell you now, this feels like a revelation after playing Theme Hospital for so many years. The music does its best to conjure feelings of those classic MIDI tunes, whilst throwing a few radio DJs into the mix who provide their own style of comedy in between tannoy announcements.
Looking for a fun day out for all the family?
I guess.
Come to Grockle Bay Zoo and see stunt monkeys, whale pigs.
So it's pretty much spot on. My only niggle might be that it's sometimes harder to work out how to fix a problem when compared to Theme Hospital, but really that's a good thing. It gives more depth, more variety, and more intensity to proceedings. I'm somewhat pleased with how this has all turned out. Thanks for watching, there's some more videos here, more things you can click, give this video a thumbs up or thumbs down if you liked or disliked it. In any case, have a good evening!